Rishi Sunak's away in Germany, which left the deputies battling it out at PMQs earlier today. Oliver Dowden faced off a fiery Angela Rayner, who was already on the losing side and had to bat away jibes about her multiple homes. Meanwhile, Rayner got her own back by mocking the Tories for backstabbing Boris. But it's unclear who came away limping from that exchange. Here, take a look at what they said.
I read with interest that the right honourable gentleman has been urging his neighbour in number 10 to call an election because he's worried they might get wiped out. Has he finally realised that when he stabbed Boris Johnson in the back to get his mate into number 10, he was ditching their biggest election winner for a pint-sized loser?
As ever, the deputy leader is always looking to attack others' failures, but never the one to take responsibility for her own.
Joining me again is editor of Spikes Online, Tom Slater, and communications director of the Henry Jackson Society, Megan Gittos. Welcome back, both of you. The one I really enjoyed was when Dowden actually said something to her to the effect that it's good to see that she's still standing up to represent her party. In fact, if she's here for very much longer, she might have to register it as another home or a second home or something like that, which actually was quite funny. I always like Angela Rayner at PMQs. It's always really much livelier than having Keir Starmer, isn't it?
I really like Angela Rayner. I actually think she's quite funny.
I do.
And I think she
Even
is
though
a
she's
great.
blocked me on Twitter, which.
And I think and I think she is a great campaigner, and that's the thing. That's why it's quite frustrating that politicians do go for each other like this, because when there is a good one who actually, she serves her constituents well, they like her. It's kind of a shame because it's like, well, actually, you have been a hypocrite this whole time. But I don't enjoy that PMQs. I really don't. I know I'm in a minority here. I don't like the quipping.
Yeah.
Like, what's the point in it? It's a waste of time.
Well, I mean, I suppose it gives you an insight into how quick their minds are and how clever they are. Because I always think somebody with a good sense of humour is cleverer than somebody who isn't.
It's heavily scripted.
Yeah, but you can still tell who's good at it and who isn't. I mean, look
Yeah,
at Keir Starmer.
you can.
Keir Starmer
really
can't tell a joke to save his life.
He can't tell a joke. He doesn't have that natural thing. But it is heavily scripted, and it can get a bit dire.
I think also we've had a procession of people who are really bad at it.
Yeah.
Like if you think Jeremy Corbyn,
he was awful.
He just was reading out emails.
Introduced
That's all he had.
The letter from Kate, a nurse from Haringey, and she wrote to me today, and this is what her story is. And you go, oh no, she didn't.
He was dreadful at that. Theresa May was not one of life's great entertainers, shall we say. Even Boris Johnson, people thought, oh, he's going to do his whole kind of Oxford Union shtick or whatever. He was kind of not very quick on his feet. So I'm not someone who kind of really goes in for the sort of the Punch and Judy and the pantomime of all this, but at the very least do it well. And
I mean, the only thing I would say to both of you is that if you ever watch the Scottish Parliament, I mean, you would be absolutely dying to get back on the train back to London to watch the pantomime, Punch and Judy show, because it's so dull in Holyrood. Because they set the whole thing up as in the round so that it wouldn't be adversarial, so it wouldn't be horrible. They've still managed to be nasty to each other, in other arenas.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is for a lot of people, I think this is the only part of Parliament they enjoy, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I think I get that people love it, and it now seems part of our institution now and something that we love. But I watched 20 minutes of it and listened to Keir Starmer be like, oh, does the Prime Minister agree? And it's toe-curdling.
But would you do away with it, though?
I've always liked the jokes, but it's gotten to the point, we've reached this weird stage where they're not actually asking each other anything.
No.
And the public genuinely can't pay their bills. And I don't want to sound boring, because I do like the jokes and I like the quippiness, but it's not actually until it gets to the backbench MPs that real issues are talked about. They just talk about, kind of what's in the papers that week, and they kind of make the same old jibes at each other, and you can predict what they're going to talk about, and that's what I don't like about it. And I think, especially for members of the Labour Party, they don't actually feel like we've got an opposition right now, because every time the Conservatives do something, Labour won't give anything away. They kind of just say, oh, I'll probably do that, or I might do that.
I think that's a big part of the problem, because it is supposed to be adversarial.
Yeah.
An example of that, the two sides facing each other.
It would be much fun if they kept agreeing with each other.
No.
Because they engage in this pantomime once a week. But most of the time, they're just, stealing each other's policies or announcing something a few days before the other one, or one of them says something, they say, I completely agree, although you should have done it before. Yeah. It's a really dull time for political debate.
Well, we were watching just the other night the Rwanda vote as it was going on, ping-ponging backwards and forwards between the House of Lords and the House of Commons. There was barely anybody there. And so I think, for democracy's sake, it's quite good that people can see that MPs actually do appear to do the work that they're supposed to do. And I know they do lots of other work, but, people don't like seeing empty chambers. They like seeing them full. And so that at least shows that they're doing something. But what about the Rishi Sunak quip? I mean, could you have made that quip about a Labour Party leader who was diminutive, do you think? Do you think it's now like open season, so he's a pint-sized loser?
Oh, yeah, of course. No, I do think that was a little bit harsh. Yeah. I think that was a little bit over the line, but I kind of liked it. I think that it's like, do you know what I mean?
You've given yourself away now. You like that. That's you like.
It's the things you can't joke about. Things you can't joke about, and I just think that's. Sorry, I shouldn't have said I liked it. It's just my personal feelings about Angela Rayner. I think she's quite feisty.
No, you can say you like it.
I'm not offended. I kind of like
well delivered is a great thing.
She does. She did pint-sized loser, and she said pint-sized, and I wasn't quite expecting her to go in so hard with the word loser. Yeah. She could have said pint-sized Prime Minister. That sounds good. But she could straight in. With
I wasn't expecting her also to say that Boris Johnson was their greatest electoral
big fan apparently.
Value, because they've never admitted that, but now they have. And also, the thing, I suppose, I don't know, I have a sort of slight affinity with Rishi Sunak, because he seems, as hapless as he may be as a Prime Minister, he doesn't seem to be a particularly horrible guy. Mm-hmm. He seems to be sort of slightly out of position, really. He shouldn't really be in the job.
In a way,
and when people have a go at him sort of for his personal failings, like he's too short, it seems a bit unfair.
Yeah, I don't like the short jokes.
But in a way, I do think the fact that people feel almost sorry for him is almost worse. Like it's almost better to be hated than at least people feel like you stand for something. People just feel like he's not making a great go of it.
Because Boris Johnson was universally hated by the opposition benches, and they really detested him. And they, even now, Alistair Campbell can't, walk past a picture of him without spitting. And there's a sort of vitriol, and then you kind of go, actually, I quite like that. I quite like the fact they hate him, therefore he's popular. But with Rishi Sunak, you kind of feel like you're kind of bullying the kid in the playground.
Yeah, it feels mean.
Giving him a kicking because he's so small.
Yeah, I had. He had it too easy with Dishy, Rishi, and now he's pint-sized loser. Yeah. I just think, what a turn of events.
I know. It's the trainers, I think, that did it for him. I think that was the end of the road. I see there was another argument today about some different trainers that Keir Starmer apparently is wearing, and they're now saying, are trainers actually the sort of shoe that people who are running the country should be wearing? I'm one of those who thinks you should wear proper shoes. I'm not one of. I'm not a fan of trainers. I think if you're working in a serious job, you should not wear trainers to work. You can wear them to walk home, like they used to do in the 80s in New York. All the working girl type women would put their stilettos on when they walked into Wall Street, but they'd put the trainers on to get to the subway. I just think if you're the Prime Minister, you shouldn't be walking around in trainers.
No, perhaps not. Also, sambas are horribly ugly.
Yeah.
And so I was really happy when all of a sudden everyone that owned them, trying to be really trendy and cool, realised they weren't cool. And they saw themselves for how I see them.
Yes.
When they looked at the Prime Minister, because I don't think it's a nice shoe.
No.
It should have never made a comeback.
No. And I can't remember what the brand, I think it's an Adidas brand that Starmer's wearing, but I don't know, but they're not sambas, they're something else.
Yeah.
Equally horrific, apparently.
Yes.
But, they just wear proper shoes.
I know I'm a bit of a hypocrite on this because I'm terrible for actually sticking it in my day-to-day life. I do think that certainly if you're a politician, if you're a Prime Minister, is it that hard? Well, they try and have their cake and eat it, and they wear those horrendous, black shoes, but there's that white trainer trim on the bottom.
Yeah.
I don't know who invented that monstrosity, but there's a lot of...
Yeah, just regular black leather shoes. What's the problem? Just wear them with a suit. It's not difficult, is it?
They're not on their feet all day, are they? They're not rushing.
No.
I mean, I know they travel around the country and whatnot, but it's not that difficult.
I don't think they have to have them resold, do they?
No.
They don't think they've ever had to have a pair of shoes resold, but there you go. Thank you, guys.